appreciate it. So that means that we can go right into our lesson for tonight. Okay. Okay. Tonight we are going to continue in chapter 2 of 2 Peter. We are going to pick up with verses 4 through 9, and the tag that I'm using for tonight is the doom of the false teachers. The doom of the false teachers. Okay. Now, this second chapter is tough. It's tough. This isn't one of those feel-good chapters of the Bible. You know that, right? But yet one that we have to know and that we have to be aware of. So, this is the NIV. So somebody can just read it nice and loud so we all know what we're talking about. Anybody can read it.
For if God did not spare angels when they sinned, but sent them to hell, putting them in chains and darkness to be held for judgment, if he did not spare the ancient world when he brought the flood on its ungodly people, but protected Noah, a preacher of righteousness, and 7 others, if he condemned the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah by burning them to ashes and made them an example of what is going to happen to the ungodly, and if he rescued Lot, a righteous man who was distressed by the depraved conduct of the lawless, for that righteous man living among them day after day was tormented in his righteous soul by the lawless deeds he saw and heard. If this is so, then the Lord knows how to rescue the godly from trials and to hold the unrighteous for punishment on the day of judgment.
Okay. Now, what does all that mean?
It means that God will punish those who do not do right or against him, and those who follow him or do what they're supposed to do, he will reward or take care of.
Okay, good. Anybody want to add anything to that? Say it nice and loud. Based on my supply. Okay, what does that mean? Okay, all right. Some things I want to point out in the scripture. Number one, there are a lot of ifs. And thank you, Ms. Paulette, for reading it and putting the emphasis on the ifs. I don't know if you knew you were doing that, but you did. If he, and 7. If he, and that word, that's 6 and 7. If this is so. And then you have what? Then you have then. So what we have here is our typical if and then analysis or statements. All right. So what Peter is doing is saying, if this happens, then something else is going to happen. Okay. So we're going to pick this scripture apart, and basically what Peter is talking about is divine judgment. What's divine judgment? What are we talking about? God's judgment? Who's going to be judged? Who's all of us? All of us in this room? Yeah, all of us will be. All of us will be. Tough subject. A lot of different views when you talk about judgment, all right? But we're going to walk through Peter's analysis here. What we have is after Peter has made his announcement concerning the doom of false teachers in verse 3. Can somebody read verse 3 for me?
political controversy shall they with these false teachers will follow their
Nice and loud. Very nice and loud, please.
These false teachers will follow their greed and exploit you with their fabrications, but be assured that their judgment was pronounced long ago, and their destruction does not.
Okay. So the last part of that statement, verse B says that basically they're going to get what's coming to them, right? Okay. So that's the announcement that Peter makes. Then after making that announcement, he makes 3 parallel illustrations of God's judgment in the past, all right? To show that God will certainly judge the false teachers in the future, all right? So we're going to look at how God judged some people and peoples in the past, okay? Because he's giving 3 illustrations here, okay? So again, we have our typical if and then statement. If historical event happens in verse 4, 5, and another one historical event happened, 6 and another one, and then 9, then future related events are certain. Okay, so this is the if then statement. Okay, so now we're going to look at each of the statements. The first one says, if God did not spare the angels who sinned, but by condemning them to chains of the dark place, gave them over to be reserved for judgment. Do angels sin?
Yes.
Say it again. Okay, all right, David, you said,
They did sin.
okay, which angels?
Satan and all of those that he corrupted.
Okay, okay. So angels do sin, right? Okay. So that's one group that we're going to look at, the angels who sinned and did not spare the ancient world, but protected Noah, the preacher of righteousness, with 7 others when he brought a flood upon the unrighteous world. So we're going to look at the flood. The ancient world is basically the world during the time of the flood, all right, or before the flood, all right? Because it took Noah a long time to build that ark, didn't it? How many years did it take?
120.
Yeah, absolutely, okay? So then we're going to look at that. We're going to look at the world around the flood. And then 6 says, and condemned the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah when he reduced them to ashes by destruction, with the result that they were set up as an example to those who are about to be ungodly. So we're going to also look at Sodom and Gomorrah, right? And rescued righteous Lot when he was tormented by the sensual lifestyle of those who were lawless. For that righteous one tortured his righteous soul day after day while living among them by seeing and hearing their lawless words. See anything special in that verse number 7?
The sensual lifestyle.
Okay, anything else? What about Lot?
He was
He was a good man.
He was righteous.
Right.
You know anything about Lot? Okay, we're going to talk about Lot. See how righteous he really is. Okay. All right. But yet, Peter calls him righteous 3 times. You see that? Righteous Lot, righteous one,
Righteous soul.
and righteous soul. 3 times he calls him righteous. He must have been awfully right. Right? Okay. All right. Then the Lord knows how to rescue the godly from temptation and how to keep the unrighteous punished until the day of judgment, and especially those who will go after the flesh with corrupt desires and despise lordship. Okay? So we have really 2 things going on here. We have Peter showing us how the judgment is going to take place, but also how God is going to protect and rescue the righteous. All right, so let's keep looking. All right, the first one is fallen angels. That's the first one. Okay, so I need you to turn to Genesis, the 6th chapter. We got to do a little Bible flipping tonight. All right. Genesis, the 6th chapter. So we can try to figure out the context that Peter was using, or at least that they believed that Peter was. Okay. There's, of course, when you read, when you're doing research and you read commentaries, one will think one way, one will think another way. But this is probably the most popular one. There are others, but so I decided to go with this. Okay, so let's look at verses 1 through 4. 1 through 4. I'm gonna read it to you from the NIV. It says, when man began to increase in number on the earth, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. Then the Lord said, my spirit will not contend with man forever, for he is mortal. His days will be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward. When the sons of God went to the daughters of men and had children by them, they were the heroes of old, men of renown. All right. So, what's happening? Can you hear what's happening there?
Early angels had a relationship with the women, mortal of earth.
That's right. The angels had relations, sexual relations with mortals, with human beings. Okay. So now, first of all, let's say that this is very difficult to interpret. It is. I mean, I said that earlier because there were a lot of different. It means this, it means that. Even when it talks about sons of God, because most of the researchers believe that sons of God equals angels. All right, angels. So basically, when you see sons of God here, they're talking about angels. And as we just said, the angels were having sexual relations with the women. Okay, if just going from what's up here, Genesis 6, 1 through 4 tells the readers that the Nephilim, which means fallen ones, okay, when translated into English, were the product of copulation between the divine beings, the sons of God, and human women, the daughters of Adam. The Nephilim are known as great warriors and biblical giants. And then there's a biblical reference for you. So basically, the angels were not supposed to do that. You understand that, right? They were not supposed to do that, but they did. So now what Peter is saying is, if God is going to judge the angels, how much more is he going to judge the false teachers? So he's giving us an illustration of God's judgment. Right? Because it says, let's look at 2 Peter. I'll do a little bit of flipping tonight, so.
We're going to 2 Peter.
2 Peter. Okay, verse number 4 says, if God did not spare angels when they sinned, but sent them to hell, putting them in gloomy dungeons to be held for judgment. Now, and when you dig into gloomy dungeons, that means, if you look at it in the King James, it means the lowest, darkest pit of hell. That's pretty deep. But that's God's judgment, because they what? They sin. God's pretty serious about sin. Yes, yes. Yes.
Could this judgment also be due to For they rebelled in heaven and waged war against God in heaven, and they were cast out of heaven into the earth. So the sin of pride with Satan, was that part of that sin?
Well, yes, the pride, yes, absolutely. Often the base of sin is pride. It's thinking that you know better than God. And we don't. We don't. So, but there are fallen angels, and they've sinned, they're going to be judged. Questions about that? One illustration. Okay? All right. So, what's Peter's point? Judgment is certain. Judgment is certain. That's all Peter is saying. If God judged the angels, then he's certainly going to judge those false teachers. And everybody. Peter's point is judgment is certain. Right. Okay, now let's look at the flood. Let's look at the flood. Okay, we're still in Genesis, in the 6th chapter. If we keep reading, I'm just going to read a little bit of this. I'll start at verse number 5. The Lord saw how great man's wickedness on earth had become, and that every inclination of the thoughts of his heart were only evil all the time. The Lord was grieved that he made man on the earth, and his heart was filled with pain. So the Lord said, I will wipe mankind whom I created from the face of the earth. Men and animals and creatures that move along the ground and birds of the air, for I am grieved that I have made them. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. Okay? So, God used the flood to judge the ungodly. The Bible talks about the wickedness of man. It says, every intent of the thoughts of his heart were only evil continually. Key words there, the thoughts of his heart, evil, continually. What does that mean? All he thought about. That's it. I mean, just not even a glimpse of thinking something good. Not even a glimpse. Now, the ancient world resisted Noah's preaching because Noah did tell them. What did Noah tell them?
It was going to rain.
Okay.
And there was going to be a flood.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Did he tell them anything else? Did Noah tell them to get right? He did. He did. All right. Genesis 6:6 says, and the Lord was sorry that he had made man on the earth, and his heart was he was grieved in his heart. I don't remember, I read so many versions, but I think it was the Voice that said, anybody have the Voice? I want to, because that, can you pull it up? Yeah. Just Genesis 6:6. Read that for me. I can't imagine, even though we do break God's heart. All of us do. All of us do.
At that point, God's heart broke, and he regretted having ever made man in the first place.
Mm-hmm. That kind of makes you sad. It makes me sad. For an awesome God to regret making me. For me to break his heart. And we do. All of us do. All of us do. But in this case, he was so broken, he destroyed mankind. He judged mankind. Right? And what did he do?
He made a decision.
Say it again.
He made a decision.
He made a decision, and what did he do?
Destroyed the earth. He destroyed.
He destroyed the earth. Just Noah and his wife and his children. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And the animals, right? That's pretty harsh judgment.
That's because nobody else went with them, right?
Right. Nobody, they didn't believe him.
Yeah, if they believed him and got on the his art and whatnot, then they'd been saved.
Right. But they did not. They did not believe. They didn't get on, right?
They thought he was crazy.
They thought he was absolutely crazy.
They thought he was
For
crazy for one because
120
he's
years, they thought he was crazy.
Yeah,
one,
how long
because
did it
he's
take
an
him to make that
alcoholic.
art?
Say it again.
He's an alcoholic. That's why nobody really paid him no attention.
Well, they never saw rain before, right?
Right. They never
Right.
saw rain. They never saw rain. They never saw rain. So Noah was basically telling them something they had never seen before.
It's like living.
But yet, they were judged. Right? Okay, so will he if God did this, will he also destroy the false teachers?
Yeah.
Yes, he will. And Peter's point? Certain. He's given us some hard illustrations.
But it took a long time. When I read in my Bible, it said Noah was 600 years old before the flood even started.
Right.
You know, so it was like you got time to get it right, but no, 600 years.
And that's the way they had time to get it right, to listen to him, to even consider. But they chose not to. They chose not to. Instead, they broke God's heart. Continue. Absolutely. All right, so now, but the next part says, but God spared Noah. So through all of it, God's hand reached up and saved Noah. He was righteous. The same flood used to destroy the world was used to spare Noah. Find comfort in this because, number one, God took notice of Noah. He said he found favor with Noah. That's good news. That makes me feel a little better. And he wasn't a perfect man. No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. He was not. But yet he found favor with God. Noah walked with God even in the midst of a corrupt world. How hard is that to do? In the midst of a corrupt world, how hard is it to walk with God and to be righteous? Why is it hard, Donald?
It's hard because for me to follow the path that I was taking and to believe that God is God and God is going to see that I do the right, that I be happy and I did everything that I want and whatnot. It's hard for me if I don't read the Bible and believe in Him. It's hard for me to believe He's going to do these things for me. So it's hard for me to walk in His path and to follow His rules.
Okay. All right, James.
I feel like it's hard to walk in a corrupt world because a lot of things dealing with this world is corrupt, is dealing with temptation, your inner desires, things you want, even though you know it's wrong, you still yearn to do them. And it's easy in an ungodly world to fall into temptation. But as you're walking with Him, it's even harder to do the right thing because of what you're held accountable for doing. Once you know you're held accountable for your actions.
Anybody else want to comment? What makes it so hard?
Because you feel like you're the only one almost. It's like everybody seems to be, doing whatever they want to. There's such a police, well, it's a lot of compromising going on, so you're like, well, and sometimes it looks like people are prospering and then compromise, so you're like, well, they're still, acquiring a certain quality of life despite, and God loves us anyway, and we still go to heaven anyway. So what's it's just like you start justifying, that it's not that big of a deal. He gonna forgive me. So you hear that all the time, and you see people getting elevated. So it does become like a slippery slope. Nobody's perfect.
So how do you deal with it?
For me personally, and I imagine that's what you do. I guess I've fallen in love with God. So I'm like, but I just love him and I want to please him, and so I think that becomes like, the measuring stick for me. It's like, but I just want to please him. So I just don't want to do that. He will forgive me, but I just don't want to. I just want to please him. So that's how I.
Okay, Dan, just like you handle the truck.
I was gonna say, I think for most of us it's hard because we want to fit in. We don't want to be set apart.
And that's true. We do want to fit in, don't we want to fit in? For the most part, we do. Right, we do. Okay, Cheryl.
I just think about that the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. We have fleshly bodies, or our fleshly bodies.
Very, yes, absolutely. Okay,
I don't
Denise.
say to do what I want to do so much. It's as simple as that. It's so much easier. It's so much easier just to say yes. I mean, it looks good, it feels good, it tastes good. I mean, everything about it is just so much easier. So you have to pray. Sometimes you get that. You have to get it. It's so much easier.
Yeah, I'm thinking my own experience. It was hard in the beginning because it was a lonely walk, and because you had different reasons why you started, wanting to be closer to Lord, and make you comfortable with situations that happen, And it was just so lonely for me at first, but I enjoy it as I grew. I enjoyed it more and more, but I lost, like, I had just met my stepsister, and once I gave my life to Christ, it was really crazy because she was supposed to have been giving her life to Christ, but for some reason, when I did it, she just went another way, and even to this day, we don't have the same relationship that we had when we first met. And, it's just, and some friends, they don't want to be around you anymore because you don't do this and you don't do that, So it was a lonely walk for me.
And it can be a very lonely walk. I mean, everything that you all have said is absolutely true. It can be a lonely walk, and that's why we need the fellowship of the saints to help us. That's why we need it. But it's difficult in a corrupt world. We want to fit in. We want to do what everybody else is doing, enjoy life, and but we can. But the thing is, we can still enjoy life God's way. We can still do, because if you truly love the Lord and you want to please him, you do want to please him. Now, and just as we're going to talk about a little bit, we all make mistakes, but we can't use that as an excuse.
Right.
I mean, we are fleshy, we have, these human feelings, but we ought to be trying every day, each and every day. God will bring judgment upon the ungodly, but he will not lose sight of the godly. That's right. He provided for their deliverance. He will preserve those who remain faithful. That's the key here. Because Noah remained faithful for all those years. Can you imagine? Because we talked about Noah before. the mocking, all of that he had to endure.
It feels good, actually, like, probably crazy that I'm about to say this, but it's a reminder for me right now that I need to really, really read and stay in the Word. Although you do know that, because just reading this, it's like, it makes me feel better. Because sometimes I'm thinking like, you know, I get people saying stuff like, oh, she's trying to live beyond, you know, or whatever words people may use. And I'm thinking, well, dang, I'm just trying to be obedient, I'm just trying to be faithful. Like, and sometimes inside I'm like, wow, I'm getting punished for trying to be faithful. But when you look at this, it's like the reminder that I need to continue to see. And if I'm not reading and studying, like, I don't have that in my mind. Right. And although when I'm reading it right now, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right, it did say that. But like, I need to keep reading so I can keep hearing that, because I hear these other voices like, oh, she one of them extra holy. And I'm like, well, I'm not extra holy because I do the same thing, you know, so it's just like good to remember to take your Bible study and keep reading in your private time, because you'll hear all these voices that'll just kind of make you think, well, maybe I am being too much or whatever it is, you know, you buy into.
I believe that God wants us to enjoy life, first of all. I mean, He made us, He knows what we're going to do before we do it, and He knows our thoughts. Some thoughts are wrong thoughts, but they entertain us sometimes. And there's a point where, say me, if I want to go to a club or something, not that I go to club, but if I were to go, the Holy Spirit will convict you of things. He will say, you'll need to go there. Or even if you, if I want to drink some wine, you say, okay, that's enough. You know, I depend on the Holy Spirit to tell me things, to tell me, don't do this, or that's enough of that. Shut up, don't say it. I depend on it because I'm human. I'm not going to say that I won't say the bad word. Yeah, after you push that button, it might come out. And you can't take back what you can't take back when it comes out. So I got to pull back. But God wants us to enjoy it. There's nothing wrong with getting together and having fun. But it's a way that we as Christians have our fun. There's some things we just are not going to do because we belong to God. You know, we have boundaries, and the Holy Spirit gives us these boundaries. I mean, because nobody likes to have fun no more than me. I love that fun. I love music, but then sometimes God said, okay, that's enough of that music. I'll turn up and I'll sit there quiet because now I know He wants my attention. You know, so I mean, once we stay in tune with Him, He stays in tune with us. And we don't have to beat ourselves up when we do something wrong. He knew you did it. Who are you going to please, Him? Or are you pleasing the people? We're pleasing Him. So we don't have to beat ourselves up. That's where we go crazy. And we beat ourselves up. No, we have to stuff up.
I think what you said is what I experience is the fun. That word fun, like some people assume that fun is X, Y, Z. Like, I'm very happy and I'm enjoying my life and I'm having fun, but because I don't do, you know, what other people consider fun, then they're assuming that I'm not having fun. Right. When I'm very happy, I'm very fulfilled. And so it's kind of interesting, the word fun, what people see.
That's our fun, that's your fun.
But even like Christians have different kinds of fun. So, you know, it's almost like you can't please everybody. You really have to stay focused and and do what is righteous. Because if you do that, you will please Him and you will be saving yourself that ungodly punishment. So sometimes even Christians may be doing something that you don't particularly want to do, but don't judge me. Just, you know, you do yours after you do. We all love God.
And that's what we get in trouble when we start judging each other. I mean, because you have to know what God is telling you to do. Because how I define fun may be different from what you define fun, but it's still within the boundaries that God has set.
Don't you think judgment goes two ways though? I guess this is a big topic for me because people always say, oh, you don't do this and you don't do that. And I'm like, that's judging me because if I don't want to do something and you're uncomfortable around me because you're doing something, I'm not doing nothing. I'm just not doing what you're doing. So why are you tripping? You happy with what you're doing, do it. Why are you worrying about me not doing it? Like I get that a lot. Like you sure you don't want it? Well, I'm good. I'm good. Well, why aren't you doing it? Because I don't really have a desire to do it. So that's judging me, right? Because I don't want to do what you're doing. You're judging me, right?
Could be. It could be.
I think sometimes people feel more comfortable if you're doing what they're doing. And then, so because you don't do what they're doing, they're judging you because they think you're judging them. I'm just not doing what you're doing. That doesn't mean I'm judging you. I'm just not doing it.
Right. And I think for me, the cure for that is basically you do you and I'll do me.
Exactly.
And period. And I'm not judging you, you're not judging me. I know what my boundaries are. If you are okay with my boundaries, then we can hang. But if you're not, then that's okay. I don't feel like we have to convince somebody of anything. I mean, I know the standards by which I live. And I'm not going to put my standards on anybody, and don't put your standards on me. But really, I don't feel like I have to say that to anybody. Because if you doing something and I want to go, then I'm going to go. If you're doing something that I don't want to go, I'm not going to go. I don't have to have conversation around that. So, it's like, do you want to go? Nope. That's it. I don't have to explain. So I'm not going to let anybody make me feel good, bad, or indifferent because I know me and I know what I want and what I don't want. That's it. So, and I don't have to convince somebody of that. So, because once you have to convince somebody, then there's something wrong. In my mind, there's something wrong. That's one thing that we were taught as female preachers. I never have to justify my preaching to anybody, and I never will. If you want me to come preach, I will. If you don't, it's fine. I'm not going to say, why not or whatever. If you want me to come to your pulpit and sit, I will. If you don't, I'm just as comfortable sitting right there. No conversation around it. It is what it is. So, because sometimes I think, like Gwen said, we can drive ourselves crazy like that, trying to convince somebody of certain things. No, I don't have time for that. I'm sorry.
I had to get to that.
Yes.
I was going to say, to change this, one perspective, I'm not sure if it's being judgmental, because the Bible talks about that the darkness doesn't want to be around the light.
Right.
So if you're living a godly life and they're living a lifestyle that's outside of God's will, well, you're putting light on that darkness, and they feel uncomfortable because you're exposing a lifestyle that's against the will of the Lord. So it may not be about being judgmental, but you're living a life that's shining some light on some darkness. That's how I see that.
Absolutely. That's very good. Okay, so now, what's Peter's point? What's Peter's point here?
Judgment is certain.
This is Peter's point, that God rescues the righteous. That's why these statements are here, and that's why he went on to say, looking at verse 5, if he did not spare the ancient world when he brought the flood on its ungodly people, but protected Noah, a preacher of righteousness, and 7 others. Right? So Peter's point here is that God's going to rescue the righteous. Okay? You see that? Because it's important that you see it. Because the others were that judgment was certain.
Yeah.
But this one, this is good news for us,
Right.
is it not?
Yeah.
No
So
matter
we
how
gotta
long
see
it
that.
looks,
Verse
no
5.
matter how long it takes, keep on doing.
Right.
Oh, second Peter.
2 Peter 5, yeah. Okay. All right, so now let's look at Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay. So, okay, let's read on. It says in verse 6, if he condemned the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah by burning them to ashes and made them an example of what is going to happen to the ungodly. And, well, let's just deal with that part first. Okay. This story is found in Genesis 17 and 18. All right? 17 and 18. Very popular story, of course, for churches, for leaders. But it says in Genesis 18 and 20, because their sin is very grievous. What does that mean? It broke his heart. It was horrific.
Abomination.
Okay. So God decided to bring judgment on Sodom and Gomorrah, right? The destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah and the deliverance of Lot and his daughters is an example of God's judgment. We have God's judgment again. And this judgment was swift. Very, very swift. You know the story. If you turn to 17, I think it's 17 and 18, 19, they were living a very sexual lifestyle, men, and two angels came. And Lot tried to protect them, correct?
Right.
Lot said, come on into my house, stay with us. Don't go in the city. But they came to the door, right? Knocking down the door, saying, send them out. We want them.
Yeah.
And basically, he said, you know, we want them for sexual reasons. That's what the Bible says. But the angels did what? Blinded them. Blinded them. And told Lot, get out of Dodge. Because judgment is coming. And it's coming swiftly. So again, we have God's judgment. So again, Peter is saying, if he judged the fallen angels, if he judged the ungodly people around the time of the flood, before the flood, and if he judged Sodom and Gomorrah, how much more is he going to judge these false teachers? I don't want to be a false teacher. It's heavy. It's heavy. So what's Peter's point? Right. Got that one. Judgment is certain. Judgment is certain. Okay. But then,
Wouldn't it be the righteous too? Because
let's look at the other part of the verse. Okay. The other part of the verse says, okay, protected. No. Okay. Let's look at verse 6. If he condemned the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah by burning them to ashes and made them an example of what is going to happen to the ungodly, and this is verse 7, if he rescued Lot, a righteous man who was distressed by the filthy lives of lawless men, for that righteous man living among them day after day was tormented in his righteous soul by the lawless deeds he heard and saw. Okay? So, but God delivered Lot. That's where you are, right? Okay. So now, let's talk about Lot. Lot was righteous. 3 times he calls him righteous. Calls him righteous, a righteous man, his righteous soul. Now, my question is, what was so righteous about Lot? All right? If you know anything about Lot, he and Abraham had the opportunity to split some land, right? And what did Lot do? He took the better land. You know how we try and give the better to somebody else, right? Don't we? Sometimes. Y'all not saying that. But he took the better land. It's like, okay, you take the crummy land, I'll take the better one, right? Offered his virgin daughters to the men of Sodom and Gomorrah. And he did. And he said to them, take my daughters, leave these men alone. I mean, the motive may have been good, but I don't know if I would have offered my daughters to lawless sexual men. I don't know if that is so righteous. Would you consider that righteous?
No.
And on top of that, he was made drunk by his daughters and had sex with them. Yes. Righteous? Help me understand this, right? Righteous? But the Bible says that God delivered Lot. He did not suffer the same fate that the others who lived in Sodom and Gomorrah, right? He didn't. Now, we know what happened to his wife, right? What happened to his wife? She looked back.
She looked back.
She looked back.
He told him not to look back.
Said, don't look back. He told all of them. He said, listen to your man.
Listen to your message. That's what the message is. Listen to your man. Don't look back. You see that?
Don't look back here.
Don't look back here.
Stephanie, when y'all listen. Okay, so. But why? So why
No,
is
she
he
missed
considered
that
righteous?
sound.
Why is he considered righteous? It's up there.
Because it was good, his heart was good.
Peter describes the response of Lot's heart and soul to the sin of his society. The sin around him sickened him. Yep, it grieved him. In his heart, he wanted them to do right. Correct? And what he was seeing around him tormented his spirit, his righteous soul, the Bible says. Right? He was deeply grieved about what he saw and heard. Too many want to judge the righteousness or wickedness of a man by mere outward appearance. Because if we were just to look at this, would we declare him righteous? No. But that's outward stuff. Yeah. So, what matters? What's in your heart? What's in your heart? God judges a person on the basis of what's in their heart. So my question for you tonight is, what's in your heart? To do good? What's in your heart? What's in your heart, Tanya?
To love people.
Nikki, what's in your heart? To help. To help? Okay. Okay. What's in your heart, Stephanie?
I want in my heart is to do God's will.
Think about it. What's in your heart? Cheryl, what's in your heart? Anybody else want to share, or you just want me to call them?
To love.
To love. Okay. Okay. Yes.
To do God's work and the love.
Okay. James?
To do God's will and have more mercy.
Kimmy, what's in your heart?
To do God's will the best that I can, and to try to love unconditionally without fault.
That's godly love right there.
Sure. Miss Paulette, have you shared yet? What's in your heart?
Do better. Be better. And to make it natural. And not so much work.
David, what's in your heart?
No.
Miss Florence?
To serve.
To serve. Donatia, what's in your heart?
Today.
Carlotta, what's in your heart?
To receive love and to give love.
What, Reverend Moore?
To be the best me that God wants me to be.
Denise? Sandra?
For to please God, I have such a passion for people to live that.
Miss Angela? Hi, Father, you answered. Did you answer? What did you say?
I said that I love God and I want to do whatever, be obedient to him, do whatever you want.
Oh, no, Rodney, yeah.
Well, I was engulfed in this story. This is awesome.
Which story?
Oh, just reading Lot's story, and I know I heard about him being, his daughters, getting them drunk and everything. But I was trying to read where it was at. I guess right there. No, but I done went on to him to the angels blinding the guys and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
keep going. It's after that.
Is that after
It's
that?
after that.
Okay. Yeah, but then my heart is to I don't know, to kind of like please God in words, thoughts, and deeds, and to kind of like be better, a little bit better each day.
I want to make God smile. That's just in my heart. To make God smile. Because I think when you smile, it's the opposite of grieving and breaking your heart. Because when there's a genuine smile, your eyes light up. And I want God's eyes to light up because I'm doing whatever it is that He wants me to do. That's what's in my heart. God judges a person on the basis of what's in their heart. So again, remember, we can't look at outward appearances because we look at people and we judge based on what they do, what they don't do, what they look like, what they act like, how they speak. Don't we? But the key is what's in their heart. And sometimes people can be just terrible, but have a good heart. Terrible stuff, kind of, sort of, not really. Some of it.
Yeah.
Some of it. Yes.
But how do we, as humans, get past people like that? When God looks past his exterior, how do we, because we don't know his heart. all we see is what he has done. So that's all we have to go by. So we can't look at him and say, oh, he has a good heart, and love him for his heart.
And, but I think sometimes people do certain things, but we just have to be able to see it and recognize it. Because even in this story, if I look at this story and I see the fact that Lot attempted to keep these men safe,
Yeah.
that says something about his heart to me. Now I gotta look past some other stuff.
Prior
Right.
to that moment, it's like that's what we see. So,
And I think sometimes it's the little things. If you look at what people do, then you can say, wow. I'm based on the outward stuff. I never thought that he or she would have done that. And sometimes it's not big, but it's little. I think people do show you what's in their heart, but we gotta look for it. We have to be open. We gotta look deep. Yes.
Another way we can maybe try to discern, Jesus said that out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks.
Absolutely.
So the intent and motive of what's in a person's heart, it will eventually come out. If you listen to people, you will hear exactly what they're all about. If you spend time with that person, they will tell you exactly what they're about.
Absolutely, they will.
that's
They
true.
will. Absolutely. Yes.
That's true because I worked in, I guess, for the probation department. I was a probation officer for many years. And you get people on probation and parole for some terrible things. But when you sit down at that time and you talk to them, you get to realize that there's some very thoughtful people. Right? I mean, everybody is just not. I found it is very, very good. I thought, from what I can say, very few of my people that I would say that probably being see, you know what I mean? But for the most part, a lot of those people that I had over the years, once you really sat down and you talked to them, they had hearts. They had big hearts. They're not, and even the worst of the worst seemed to be the one that had the big hearts. Sometimes they had circumstances where they had been addicted to drugs, alcohol, that caused them to do things that they've done. Or look at the history of their background, what happened to them over their lives, you'll see, that's why they did the things. But for the most part, you see that those people have very good health. Especially I found out that my recovering addicts, really good things that were, and you see Satan, I don't know, but you can see that the substance or whatever was had control over what they did.
Absolutely. Okay, so what's Peter's point here? What's Peter's point here?
God sees the righteous.
You tell us.
Judgment is certain. Judgment is certain.
This one, God rescues the righteous. Because again, Lot was declared righteous. So let's sum this up. Recognizing false teachers, this is the doom of the false teachers. God's judgments in the past guarantee that there is the day of judgment in the future. There is a day of judgment for all of us. All right? Those who remain faithful to the Lord will be spared like Noah and Lot were. God knows how to both rescue the righteous and punish the unrighteous. Thank God that those whom he makes righteous are not righteous. Peter's point, God's judgment is certain and God rescues the righteous. He's going to judge. That's what the word says. but he's going to rescue the righteous. How many righteous people do we have in the room? I asked you that question before, right? You remember that question? Okay. Okay. Any questions you have tonight? Peter spends a lot of time talking about those false teachers. So next week we're going to wrap up. We're going to look at the balance of chapter 2. And again, it's still those false teachers. He goes on to talk about what they do and how they do it. So we'll finish up, and then we're going to go into chapter 3. And David's going to do chapter 3 for us. Yes, question.
I'm just realizing something. We're going through all the reading that we're doing and studying, and the things that these people have done, how they still been influenced to the hall of faith and, you know, righteousness. I ain't doing too bad. So with that one, I'm kind of good on some of the things I have done and I killed myself for, because I really beat myself up about some little small things. But nothing compared to some of that stuff. So I think I ain't doing too bad. I don't think I'm doing too bad. I don't think none of us are, actually.
And we all are doing okay. And we all can do better.
Amen.
Okay, Ms. Florence?
Now, I'm not too upset about the people coming this goody two shoes. And I didn't know what goody two shoes was, but yes, I am a goody two shoes. I sure am.
Yes.
That's right. You all have room for improvement.
We can't get you got nice and loud.
We all have always had room to grow and improve. I guess the question we need to ponder to ourselves as self-examination with the heart condition.
That's good.
Right. Absolutely.
I kind of like it when I'm perceived as being set apart, because even on my job, my bosses know not to schedule me on a Sunday morning or a Wednesday night, and they know why. I like that. They know not to touch those days or schedule me for work. So I kind of like that.
There's nothing wrong with being set apart.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with it at all. Actually, it's a good thing. You know, for me at work, they all know that I'm a minister. They know that. But you know how people are. Once they know you're a minister, they have to prove to you how much Bible they know. So I completely ignore them. It's like, oh yeah, okay, fine, okay, let me go in the fitting room. So, but when they want to talk, you know where they come to the fitting room. Yes.
I'm listening to David. I like that, and I try to do that to myself. I think my biggest problem is it's always my family, and they are like that's my, you know what I mean? That's my core. So it's just like, come on, y'all, you're my family. But I always remember about Jesus having, you know, being alone all the time. But it makes me sad when I think about, you know, like, they're like, all right, then. They'll be like, wait, baby, I want to go too. Oh. You know, so I get it, but it gets sad. I get sad because I want to be with them. And then so after a while, I just have to find other people to be, but you know, they're my kids. So that's who I really am used to being with. So it's kind of, it's a different place I'm at, trying to, you know, adapt new family. Where you like, I do, you know, but I'm just saying, like, they don't want to be around me because they want to live how they want to live, and they don't want me to see. Like, you don't need to be with us, kind of thing. But I'm like, I want to be with y'all. So, you know, that's the challenge. I don't know.
And you know, for me, because I mean, we all have family that are, you know, here, there, and everywhere. But you know, I hang with my family. They know who I am, what I do, what I don't do. So there'll be a one end of the table, I'm at the other, and we all right. We do well.
I have some friends that I've grown up with. We kind of grew up and grew apart because they do some, like, we went out a couple of times together, and as we went out, I'm like, this ain't for me. I'm like, I can't do this no more. It's not for me. And I don't be mad about it, but when they do go out, like I said, we want to hang with them, and because it's my little brother. No, I'm like, we just don't have that connection on that aspect of things because of, you know, what they do, what I don't do. You know, but one thing I do like is just like when a lot of things that happen when I didn't have access to a vehicle at the time, I got stuck. I'm like, oh, can I get a ride home? He like, to be honest, I don't even want you in the car. He like, car ain't right. I got stuff in here. I wouldn't even do that to you. I'm like, oh, that's love. I appreciate that. So, and I wasn't even thinking about it. I ain't gonna lie, I wanted to get home, but he left me there just because of his car wasn't right. He wasn't right. As they say, driving dirty. And he ain't want to put me in part of that because he know where I'm at, and I respected that. Even though I wasn't thinking that way, but I respected that.
And you know, one of the things that you can do is you can, if they are doing something that you don't want to do, then invite them to come and do something with you. And some will and some won't. But you know, you can invite and see what happens.
Yeah, I think that's actually how I have been doing that.
Right. Absolutely.
I just that I read about we're on 2 Peter, and I don't know if you got my email. The president, the president, he referenced, we had a long time, he said that he went to a national, they have a prayer breakfast, national prayer breakfast, annual prayer breakfast, and he said that I've been thinking and praying on a verse from 2 Peter. And he says, for God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of sound mind. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love. And he said, I think he mentioned it twice, and it's when he had his little speech after the prayer.
And he said, 2 Peter, that's in Timothy.
Yeah, he said, I mean, no, you know what, it is 2 Timothy.
Okay.
Oh. You know, it would have been all over the news if he had said,
Oh yeah. Oh, quick.
They'll fact check it. Come on, let's stand up so we can go.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
what I like.